Hello and welcome to episode number 3 of Sports Therapy Association Extra, our new podcast. It's our CPD sessions made by members for members. Today we have with us Tom Colwill, who is a fellow regional rep, and he's also a sports therapist and strength coach. Tom. Hello.
Morning. How are you doing, mate?
I'm good. You?
Yeah, really good, thanks.
Good. So let's hear a little bit about yourself.
So I've been a member of the STA since 2014, going into 15 around that time. Summer 2014, I actually opened my gym called Valentis, and it was a CrossFit gym. And at that point in my life and career, if you like, I was looking at trying to make my own career happen by opening a gym to offer small group classes, but also start thinking about integrating my skills as a sports therapist alongside it.
Okay.
Over the years, I've found myself questioning a lot of what I know, what I don't know, how to do things. And it's just taken me on a journey of learning more about the human body, learning more about different techniques and methods on how to help people. And it got to the point where 2020 pandemic, let's say, hit, and it caused a little bit of a catalyst with me and my partner to use the time to just reflect a bit more about what we were doing. And we invested in some help ourselves, and we knew that having had a couple of years of kind of struggling ourselves with where we felt we were going with our business, we knew that we needed to make a change. So we changed the gym. We got rid of the CrossFit methodology. We wanted to bring in what we truly believed as helping people the best way. And since then, I've just been on my own personal journey to figure out my own place as well. And that's where the rebuild coach, which I kind of had been doing on the side, very part-time, I thought this is the chance to make it happen. So reached out to Gary at the STA, and really just through conversations and through him putting a bit of trust in me, he has allowed me to come in and help with marketing specifically, and developing a mentorship scheme that is available to STA members. And it's been a really interesting process of learning again in a different way, because now I'm not just helping the general population with getting healthier and fitter. I'm now helping other health professionals figure out their own journey and what that kind of might look like for them to an individual level. And it excites me. And I think, what we've learned over the last year, especially, is unexpected things can happen. And the more equipped we are at being able to not just overcome them, but be quick at pivoting or be adaptable to be able to look at our future with more hope. That's a big part of the message I try and give people as well, especially in the last couple of months when we've reached our third lockdown and we've got more people in our industry feeling a little bit restricted, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the gist. It's a very brief summary of where I've ended up and where I'm at now. But I'm looking forward to continuing that process.
Yeah, I think last year, 2020, was a pivotal point for a lot of people, wasn't it? I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there, that it was an opportune time, wasn't it, to kind of help therapists. And we see a lot of stuff out there, don't we, about helping therapists, but how much value does a lot of it have? Because a lot of these people are business people trying to help therapists, and obviously it's different. I think having you on board in the STA and kind of helping fellow members and fellow therapists, I think having your insight as a therapist and your evolution as a therapist, I think is really beneficial. So what are we going to be talking about today?
So interestingly, it's got nothing to do with the therapy world, I think, in a sense. It's more communication, actually. So one of the things I've been paying more attention to is communication skills, whether that's face-to-face, whether that's in a marketing sense. I've been putting courses together as well. So that's taught me a lot about the importance of getting the right language and tone and choosing the right words. And today we're just going to talk about how I think it might actually be the most important skill that we hold as health professionals, and how maybe to start thinking about developing it. I'm keen for this session that we do together, Scott, to have people come out the other end feeling like they've got a couple of things that they could actually go and do to see if it will make a difference with whatever happens next working with their clients. So yeah, that's the goal today, just to talk about how communication skills is, I think, maybe number one skill actually.
Yeah. I mean, from a personal point of view, I kind of left the therapy world after graduating in 2006. I kind of left about 4 years afterwards, and then I only came back 2 years ago. But my career in between was a complete diversion, and I ended up managing pubs. But within that, obviously, your communication and your kind of rapport with people, you have to have a rapport with so many different people in order to build your business. And I think coming back to the therapy world from that has actually made me a better therapist, because I can speak to people from all walks of life and empathize and relate to them on a different level that if I didn't leave and come back, I don't think I would have ever had that kind of experience. And I think you're right. I don't think communication is, I think it is at the moment, but I don't think it's kind of pushed enough at university and course level. It's all about hands-on skills, isn't it? So
for sure. And I think you've nailed on the head there about the similarity maybe me and you hold, which is actually getting out of our lanes and getting out of our comfort zones in terms of the therapy world. Because I'd like to think that by going into, yes, being in the fitness industry, that's the other side of it, right? But working with people in group settings and one-to-one, working with professional to amateur level athletes, working with kids and adults, but then thinking about what I did before all of this, like working in sales and working in pubs, and there all has this. If you pay attention, I think you actually can remember about moments that made you go, oh, actually, I remember that conversation I had with someone, or I remember saying this thing which got someone to, like, I don't know, have a eureka moment, if that exists. Does that make sense? Like just having that ability to just reflect on what you've done historically in communication alone.
I think drawing on like loads of different experiences, yes, God, the two kind of professions and two career paths that I've gone down couldn't be further apart with regards to public perception. But I think both influenced each other massively.
Well, if you look at the similarity is you're just trying to talk to another human.
Exactly. It's just a communication, it's trying to connect with people, in kind of my other career. If as a team we were all cold and just miserable and everything, nobody had come back, and it was driving that into people. And I remember when I first started in the management kind of bit, and there were, you had kind of your HR people telling you how to communicate, and at first you're like, oh, this is just rubbish, and then it clicks, and then you kind of go, actually, maybe what they're delivering it in a kind of pretentious way, but the message is actually really valuable. And for me, it's helped me a lot within this as well. A lot of clients that I see, yes, the hands-on stuff, they feel nice and stuff, but it's all about communication. And it's kind of going, don't worry, you will be fine. So first bit you wanted to talk about was communication skills during the initial contact. So
yeah, I think like first impression comes to mind. Really, I think the first impression in today's world is actually social media. When I review over the years the pages that I've followed in the therapy world and watched what they've posted, and when I see posts biased towards the service or the pricing or the offer, that to me shows that I don't know if those people quite understand what marketing actually is, because telling someone your price isn't telling a story, it's just kind of telling your price. But when we think about an initial contact, let's go beyond social media for now and just say, you've got someone booked in. One of the things I've learned is to offer the floor to the individual as much as possible. And I know probably a lot of people might listen to this and go, well, I do that. But it's how open you are initially by saying, you know, tell me about your experiences. It's how you choose to use the words that show that you're empathetic and that you understand and all these kind of things. And if I was to go through the first contact point that I do, which is usually a consultation process, by the end of it, I hopefully will have, and it will make sense when I go over the next point, which is road mapping. But by the end of it, if I haven't done a good job, it comes down to selling your services or not. It comes down to whether people go, yes, I will work with you. Here's my money, so to speak. And I think that's the art of communication, because you can measure effectively how good your communication skills are if you happen to have a sequence that is testing your communication skills to get someone from I'm interested to I'm buying from you.
Yeah.
And I think that's where over the years, the way I've done that in the different forms as well, like I've tried many forms. This is the thing as well. Like I do consultations now because I've seen the most success. Whereas we used to do, like in the gym sense, we used to do group inductions where we used to get people to come in and then we would go over movements and teach them stuff and they do a workout. And then I'd always get to the end and go, I don't really know if people really got much from that. Or if I was to reflect on those people that went through that process and how they performed in the training for the first month after it, it ended up me having to repeat things a lot, which shows that not just the way I communicated, but the setup was also not the best. So I guess in a sense, it's connected, but the way you set up your initial contact, I think, is important, because there are a lot of therapists who just get people to book in, like book, pay, turn up.
Yeah.
And screening clients is an essential part, I think, for therapists in particular, because your job is to make people better, whatever that means. And if you don't have the opportunity to from dot have a controlled environment where you actually get to ask certain questions, then you're going to fall into a trap of someone comes in for a massage, for example, you do a questionnaire or take them through some stuff, but you both already know that the next thing that's going to happen is they're going to lie on the bed and you're going to give them a massage in the area that they want.
Yeah.
And it becomes a trap. And I mean that in a sense of that's probably going to be a cycle, if it's not changed, of someone getting that service, walking away, repeating the service to get the same thing.
Yeah.
And having spoken to a few people now through therapists and say, you know, what do you find a struggle? What frustrates you? It's the kind of situation where therapists end up maybe during the session or at the end of the massage, they're trying to say, oh, maybe you should try this as well. But it doesn't go in. It doesn't sink into the client because they've got what they came for. So they've already got to a point where they're like, I don't know why you're telling me this. I don't need to do this. I've got my, you know, I paid for a massage. I've got a massage. And there's a frustration that I think is, I'm going to say, quite common in the massage industry. People who, you know, therapists who are like, I want to give them more. I want to give them these things that I think will help them in the long run instead of just getting a massage. But it's not set up to be successful that way because it's been set up as a, you pay and book and turn up and then we'll do a massage. So
Yeah.
initial contact might mean consultation session, screening process.
I mean, yeah, sorry to interrupt there. I mean, it's kind of, when I first started practice back up, well, it was a year and a bit ago. Not that I practiced for a lot of it because of lockdown and everything. It's been a strange time. I used to kind of, you know, I priced myself really low to kind of get people in. And what I found is I was getting a lot of one-time massage clients. And I was like, is this why I got back into this? No. So I think I kind of devalued the massage side of it a little bit. And I priced that less. And then I kind of went back and was like, no, it should just be an hourly rate. You should, no matter what you can see me for, it's the same price for an hour. And then I kind of went away and I stopped pushing sports massage because that's I don't want to say it's the easy bit, but you know, somebody just wants a sports massage, you turn up, you do your initial consultation, kind of go through your contraindications, massage them, send them on the way. And I was like, this is not helping people. This is not what I want to do at all. So I stopped pushing massage completely. And if somebody booked in for a massage, I used to pick up the phone to them and say, right, you booked in for a massage. What is it I can help you with? Before they even got into the clinic setting, and find out why they booked in for a massage. And you can guarantee most, oh, well, I've got a bad back, I've got this, it's an injury kind of thing. And it's like, is the massage going to help in the long term? Possibly, quite possibly. But I'm like, right, let's book you in and we'll put a bit of extra time in so we can have a good chat about everything. So you're not just paying for I'll charge you exactly the same, but I'll put an extra 20 minutes in so we can put in a good chat at the beginning. And then when they turn up, start again at the beginning, kind of, why are you here and what can I help you with? Tell me about yourself. I don't want to know, right, where does it hurt? What's this? I'll get onto that afterwards. I want to learn about them, their motivations, why they're actually coming to see me in the first place. And only from there can you kind of start to draw a path in my head of where we need to go and what the best course of action is. So I think that what you said there about the initial contact is, and having that, just picking up the phone to them if you can, is massive.
I think you're right in a sense of how massive picking up a phone is. And I'm gonna make, I guess, observation, maybe a suggestion. When you because my job in my own career has been to try and review as much as I can the way I do things to make it efficient, to make sure I'm respecting my time, the value of the service. It all has to interlink quite nicely. There's a good idea that you've got there in a sense of, if someone's booked in, you choose to pick up the phone. And I think it's a really good way to help manage and control the environment, which is really what we want, right? We want to know what the client actually needs, so you can actually give the good stuff. And I think, just thinking about, again, reflecting on how I do things, I do a free consultation. I do the free call, which is just there for having a chin wag to a certain degree. But I also do that because I know that the packages that I sell are not one-offs. So this is the difference as well. This is why I think it matters, because I think a massage therapist who does one-off sessions, let's say, like you do or others do, and you then choosing that first session to be an extra 20 minutes to have a chat and then do the session, puts you in a really good position for them to think about you again, for sure. For me, because my packages are hundreds of quid at a point, let's say, I've learned that the requirement to have that call as the very first thing is essential, because then my job is to sell them the journey where they can see point A to point B and how it looks, for them to then decide if they want to invest in it. Because I've got to the point professionally, I guess, where I don't want to work with people in single sessions. I want to work with people over a period of time. And how many sessions we do in that is actually quite flexible. But I usually show them the journey and say, here's some options. Here's option A and option B. This is what they mean. And then they turn around and say, let's go for option B because it makes sense, but also I can afford the cost that you've quoted. So I really, in a sense, like, as much as communication was during the initial contact is key, I think we could almost rename that already and say the initial contact is the key. Because that's the opportunity to get some screening and get some right answers and direct it the right way, in my opinion, for sure.
Yeah, I think we do, as therapists, we do kind of fall into the trap of just trying to get people in for one session, or let's just try and get as many people in as possible. And
where does that come from?
I don't know.
Because I have a thought. Like, does it come from the more people that experience my stuff, the more people are going to go, he's good, she's good, so they'll come back. But the problem is, it's still single session, single treatment that potentially isn't a long-term solution for what they actually need.
So I think, as soon as you said kind of single session, so I remember I'd not been back up running that long. Guy booked in exactly the same. It's when I'd kind of had this little epiphany in my head. Guy booked in for a sports massage. He's a painter and decorator, so obviously he's physically active. I mean, he's been having issues for numbers of years. books in for a sports massage, phone him up, kind of like, right, what is it? I can kind of help you. I was like, right, okay, it sounds like it's a bit more complicated than just massaging. That might help. It might be one of the treatment modalities. So we kind of had a chat about this, and we brought him in. We did loads of we had a good chat about what he does on a daily basis. Obviously, as a painter and decorator, you are going to be doing very repetitive stuff. And then we kind of went through different movements. We went through all that kind of stuff, and I kind of spent time with him. The treatment at the end of it was actually very little. And I kind of just discussed a lot of stuff, kind of like, right, well, maybe you could start to work on this as a mobility, strengthen this bit. And then we did a bit of soft tissue stuff at the end, because they feel a bit better about leaving. He has never been to see me since. But whenever people come to see me, whenever they book in, I always ask where they've heard about me and where they've kind of, and the amount of referrals or the amount of recommendations I have had from that guy is ridiculous. From that one session where I barely touched the guy, and that was over a year ago.
Yeah.
And I probably had about 8 to 10 people come to see me off the back of that one session. And a lot of those people are now repeat ongoing clients, who kind of come to me for they play sport, so they kind of have various things. So I think that initial, so yes, you can kind of look at that from 2 points of view, can't you? Get somebody and massage them, they might say it's good and recommend you to somebody. But if you educate them and give them stuff that's going to help them in the long term, that could be more valuable.
Well, let's have a moment here. That is the goal.
Yeah.
Long term. Because I'm starting to, and I think I'm having these moments more because of the world we're living in right now, maybe. But if health has never been challenged to this level before, surely we should be thinking about long-term solutions to a more detail and more focus. So in a sense of come back to what you're saying with you actually had an opportunity just to sit and chat and decipher what's going on, to then give him less than what you thought you needed to give him for him to solve his problem. Like that's the winning formula in my eyes, because you're helping someone long term. You're not creating more of a reliance state amongst that person. You gave them the solution, it caused a change in that moment for how long ever that lasts. But I think just coming back to that point of like, that's the goal in my eyes. And I'm starting to really disagree with the idea that repeat custom is what you need, because that's poor business in a sense of therapy business, because therapy isn't business. Therapy is number one, helping people. Does that make sense? Like, the focus should be long term.
I think that's where I've kind of shifted my focus from the therapy side and the kind of the ongoing side. So if somebody comes to me with an acute injury or an injury, like let's say chronic lower back pain, I don't want them to be coming to me for the next year, because that means I haven't helped them. But if it's somebody who trains regularly and wants constant, right, they just want that constant help. I see quite a lot
because they train. You mean because they train or do a sport, they need maintenance or they need,
So, I mean, I've seen like CrossFitters. I actually see quite a few CrossFitters. It just happened organically, to be honest. And one thing I've kind of noticed, everything with CrossFit is quite forward back.
It's down, up, forward, backwards.
Yeah. And I've seen some which are in ridiculous condition, but they still get kind of pains here and there. And I'm like, right, let's have a look at other things. So let's have a look at things that move side to side, because you still have to perform that movement. You might not be doing it in CrossFit. You might actually, because if you go to pick something up, if you're using a heavy dumbbell or a heavy kettlebell, you're going to be doing this. If you're not conditioned for this, let's investigate more. So with those people, I kind of use it as an ongoing, we don't treat one thing. Every time they come in, we have a discussion about what's gone on between the last time I seen them and now. And then we use that, all right, well, let's have a look at ankles this week. Let's have a look at, and then we use it as an ongoing screening and to try and help them with their performance. So it's not just for pain. It's about increasing their performance as well. And that's the kind of, I think as a graduate sports therapist, my skill set is not just massage. It's not just.
Well, that's the key here as well. Like, you've just nailed that you are a graduate sports therapist, not a sports massage therapist. So that's that hopefully whoever listens to this, that you need to make that clear, right? If you're a sports massage therapist, I would personally recommend you look at what other skills you can add to your forte to be able to be a broader skill setted therapist, because again, does sports massage on its own actually help? That's the debate that's always ongoing, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a very kind of subject. I suppose there's areas of objective measurement of that. I would never badmouth, because I use it. I do use it quite a lot.
Yeah.
I try not to let people become reliant on it, because some people will just. I guess
where I'm coming from is, you said you don't just use massage, you use other things, and you've seen success from that.
Yeah, I mean, I try. Sometimes you get people come in, shoulder, can't move their shoulder, they're in pain. Right, am I just going to go straight in with some strength exercise on them? If it's kind of an older gentleman who can't move their shoulder, they don't do much strength training. No, I want them to relax. I want them to feel more comfortable. So I'll use the hands-on stuff to kind of gain their confidence, gain their trust. And while I'm doing that, explain everything that we're going to do. So constantly talking, find out a little bit about them, what their hobbies are, what they do. Because I think just having that chat with that as well, because you can go through your subjective assessment, but you'll never get all the information.
No.
And if it's first time, I quite like using hands-on stuff to start off with, because it puts them in a relaxed position. And then I just chat to them for like 15, 20 minutes and just chat to them. Oh, what do you do? Have you got grandkids? Have you got kids? What do you do as a hobby? What's your job? What do you do this? And it leads you, while you're doing that, you can kind of go, right, well, actually, this is leading me over here. Whereas after my initial subjective, I was going over here.
So here's an interesting point. I'm gonna jump in, because I've just picked up on a thing there that I think actually is, because I'm conscious of keeping on topic as well. That's something I need to learn as well. Where you just said in the first 15 minutes, 20 minutes, you get someone to lie down and you ask them family, all this kind of stuff. Yes, you're looking for, I thought it was this, maybe it's this. That's the assessment process, if you're going to call it that. But what we really have done there is you've built another level of a relationship with someone by just having a chat with them.
Mm-hmm.
Because they've lied on the bed and you've just asked them about them.
Yeah.
And how the general chit chat, right? That's general chit chat in the massage world, I'd imagine. How are you? How's the kids? What do you do for work? How's work and all that kind of stuff. It's still relevant and it's still really powerful at just building another connection level with that client. And I think that's key in a sense of, especially in the initial session, right? Because if people don't know who you are and they're just lying on a bed with a stranger, so to speak, and you just have a general chit chat with them, they're going to probably be at more ease and they're probably going to go, all right, he's a decent guy. And I think that's the importance, again, of communication skills, consciously, not accidentally. I would purposely, in the first session, I would purposely ask specific questions that let me into them a little bit more, so to speak. So that's really interesting.
Where you said conscious, so that was my kind of thinking behind that. It's just a technique I've just kind of used to help people relax a little bit and open up a little bit more.
It's cool.
So moving on to next section, road mapping. I think it kind of takes us quite nicely into that section. So talk to us about your kind of thoughts on this bit.
Well, road mapping is a term that I've learned in the marketing world. And I'm really annoyed that it was used by Boris Johnson a couple of weeks ago, because I was like, it had this like clean term, and now it's been tarnished a little bit. It's a really interesting process that I've used. As soon as someone outlines that that's what it's called, I realized I was doing it not in a really not in a structured way, but I was kind of doing the same process. But road mapping is basically a strategy that I use every time now, where I take people, where I go through 3 steps, which, let's say 8 times out of 10, it's helped me have a client sign up to the work that we're going to do. And I'm saying this in particular as well because I'm trying to picture the kind of people that might be listening to this on the STA group. The services that I offer one-to-one, whether it's health, whether it's business, marketing, whatever that looks like, a one-to-one level service starts at a couple of £100 at least. So with that, I have to do myself a favor and do a better job at selling myself. Otherwise, don't get the money, don't get the job. And road mapping, the 3 steps to road mapping for me, when I realized I was doing it and when I was kind of explained it, and then where I focused on these 3 steps, it's really been helpful in a sales pitch way, if you want to call it that, because I've had to learn also to use the term sales pitch, where I used to really hate it. And that's just experience of working in the sales industry, right? But the term sales pitch actually is selling yourself, and it's doing yourself justice to actually show your value and stuff like that. So the 3 steps to road mapping, number 1 is listen intentively and with real focus on specific points. So when I say listen, I will have a list of questions I'll ask, like, tell me about your history, tell me about what you've done before to try and overcome this, tell me about your thoughts about training or whatever. But then when I listen, I'm looking out for some key areas that they might say that I would then write down as a note saying, for example, used to have a bad elbow as well. Another one could be, if I look at the kind of treatments they've got before, they tried the gym before, but it didn't work. And it might be things like there's something going on with their work stress life that has a big part to play as well. So the more I'm listening and deciphering what they're saying, I build up my own list of points. And the points that I'm listing are based on skills that I have. So if there's something in there that I'm like, not my jam, I won't write it down. And I won't even bring it up, because I don't also see the point in telling people what I can't do. Mm-hmm. Because again, that's you. If you have enough belief in yourself to a certain degree, but have the right skills as well, you can help anyone. And if you can break it down through what they say into some key points, it leads you on to the next step. And the next step is taking them on a journey. So if I say, here's today, here's your goal, right? How we get there is by following this path. What I'm doing is building that path by putting in the points that I've made. So I'll say to them, so we'll start with, you said you didn't really get on with the gym that well. Well, maybe it's because you didn't actually kind of know what to do in terms of the exercise understanding, right? Maybe you didn't know how to do it because you said, I didn't really feel confident about going to the gym. So what we'll do in this process is teach you how to move these ways and how to do these exercises properly together. So I've covered that note straight away at point 1 as part of this journey. Point 2 is, I noticed you said you had an elbow issue as well, and I think it's connected. So I think what we should do is just have a double check about what's going on there. So in the assessment process, I'll make sure that we prioritize that as well and not just leave it as a just in case. So there's another step. Then when it comes to, knowing physical change takes time, I would then say to them, look, we're probably going to look at a minimum 6 weeks. And I say minimum because we have to build flexibility if you need a week off, if there's something that happens. But I need you to understand that it's about, a minimum 6 weeks. And it's about in between those 6 weeks, the kind of foundations that we build, like learning as well as doing the work, to know that we'll get to the end. And at the end is the goal that you're looking for, which is no more pain, but pain that lasts for longer. And really, I've taken the notes that I've listened to, right? I've shown them the roadmap, or I've shown them the journey that they're going to go to from where they are today to the point they're looking for. And I've made it really specific to the individual, right? Because I've paid attention to what they've said. And really the third point, and I was thinking about this, like, because 3 steps to me, what I would do step 2 before was just confirm with them that I can help them. So I would literally do step 1, take the notes, write it all down. Step 2 would, historically for me, would be, look, I think I can really help you, and this is how. But then I've realized that actually I'm probably merging it into 2 steps. in terms of where I'm thinking now. So step 3 at the moment is more of a, now I'm looking at the language you use with conviction to get people to have a moment of, are you ready? So once I've shown them the journey based on the conversation we've had, the next question is, to a certain degree, are you ready? Because with an open question like that, it means they have to give me an answer as to no or yes. If they give me a no, I have every reason to go, what is it about it that you're not ready for? And then you get to like either answer more questions because they didn't understand what you said before in some things, or the honesty comes out, which is can't afford it, haven't got the time. For me personally, if they can't afford it and haven't got the time, I'm not going to work with them, because for me, I want to go through a commitment and get them to a point where they've gone, oh, okay, I now know what this is and how to do it and how to look after myself better. But by having the question, are you ready? I think it's the conviction of it is key as well. So this is the communication skills again, because I've spoken to a few people over time, and I think confidence is actually the biggest limiter for therapists, especially in initial session, especially if they're new, doing something new. The more you can deliver that point with confidence after, because the road mapping thing, right? If you're writing down notes that you know you can help them with, and you're telling them exactly how it's going to go, I actually think it's the biggest bit, but it's the easiest bit, because you're building your own story just to read back to them. But at the end, that's the sales bit, right? It's like it's like you're on the edge of a diving board and people are like, they've walked to the edge because you've taken them to the edge. And now they've got to look and go, am I willing to dive in? And it's either whether you're at the bottom going, you're okay, or whether you're at the back pushing them. It depends on how they feel, right?
Yeah.
So are you ready is like my third step at the moment. And it just, delivering that with conviction is a really key thing, because if you're like starting to then stumble across your words and starting to really not be sure in yourself, that shows. And I think especially coming back to, again, my specific example of the cost of my services, I have to say I cost this much with conviction. Otherwise they're going to go, I don't believe him and he wants me to pay him this. So that's really where road mapping is a really powerful tool, because you can fit road mapping into any situation. So I'm gonna come. The last bit on road mapping is where I've found similarities. There's so anyone who's seen Wolf of Wall Street, or anyone who has seen Jordan Belfort outside of that, the real Jordan Belfort, right? How many times people say to him, "Can you sell me this pen?" And I remember this drill because I did it when I used to work for Phones for You. And I remember doing exactly what anyone would do. Like, this pen is amazing. Like, you need this pen because it's better than all the others and all that type of stuff, right? When Jordan Belfort was asked it, he was like, you're missing the point. I need to know why I'm selling you this pen first. Like, why? I can't sell you this pen because I don't know about you and I don't know why you need it. It gave me the confirmation that road mapping is actually a really good way of doing that. You're not just selling a service like, you need massage because I'm the greatest and it's the greatest thing ever. You're going, tell me about yourself. Tell me about your history, what it is. Then you get to answer specifically, directly what they need. And it was just interesting. And I did that like 3 or 4 weeks ago, that video of Jordan Belfort. And that's why I've changed my roadmap over the last month, where it used to be, listen, tell them you can help, show the journey. And now it's listen, show the journey, ask if they're ready. And it's just a really powerful tool that I've used pretty much every time. I've never pressured anyone on the day to say, well, if you don't take it now, you're not going to have it. I've always left it open. And actually, I reckon 30-40% of the clients have ended up going away to say, yeah, I'll have a think. And then they've ended up coming back and saying, yes, let's go. Because I've been that way as well. I've been that way of like, when you're ready, like, you now know everything. Because that's key, I think, as well in this industry. Don't feel pressured to get the sale there and then, because this is the long game. And you always want people to feel like they're leaving you in a really positive way. And if they feel like they've been pressured to sign up for something or take on something because of the language you use, that doesn't serve you well, especially if they tell their friends that he's a bit hard on the sales. So that hopefully gives you another reason why I do things this way and keep it all open and just go whenever you're ready. Does that make sense?
Yeah, perfect sense.
Great.
Lots of stuff to say. I'm just absorbing all that because I think the thing about what you were saying about the Jordan Belfort thing, I think that's fine. I hate that, the sell me this.
Yeah.
I hate it. I always have done. We used to do things like that in area meetings or like HR stuff. And I was like,
It's fake sales.
it is. And it's
fake sales in a sense of you become a robot.
Yeah.
You don't become another human speaking to another human because you're reading a script, you're selling a thing, and you're not looking at that person going like, hang on, what do you need? You're going, this pen is yours, you need this pen, why do you need this pen? Instead of what we're trying to do is actually connect with people, right?
And what you said there about the sales pitch thing, what we do, yes, it's helping people, but it is sales as well. We do have to sell ourselves and sell how we can help people. God, I keep going back to kind of my old thing, but we didn't sell kind of products. I never believed in kind of selling products. Yes, they can hold value in the bigger picture, but we sold experiences, and kind of tweak those experiences, kind of whether it was a big night event or whether it was 2 people booking in, just for them to. We would make as much effort with those 2 people that we might make 20 quid out of as we would to an entire night that we've spent months planning, because it's about finding each person's motivation and giving them the best experience to go away with. So they're not just experiencing it in that hour that they're with you. It's kind of like, oh, actually, I've got all this other stuff. And it's about selling your value long term, which is obviously for you, if you've got higher prices, you have to sell your value, don't you? You can't just, you can't just go, I'm going to do this, going to do this, going to do this, hundreds of pounds, please. It won't work.
Exactly. And there's a really interesting vibe thing, like an environmental thing, when you're in a room with someone who I don't know if you've experienced this, but when you're in a room with someone who you just know that they know what they're talking about versus talking rubbish, and then you just see like, okay, they're experienced in this. There's just this feeling sometimes in the way people speak, which for me then gives me that feeling of, I think I'm going to go with you on this. And that's something that I've tried to pay attention to as well. When you've got someone in front of you that if they're talking about what they're trying to, I don't know, sell you, if you want to use that term, you can kind of tell, right? You can tell if someone's really into it, if someone's really knows what they're talking about, or if they're regurgitating. Because regurgitating is just you've read something somewhere and you're trying to sell me something that maybe I don't need after all, and you're just looking to make some money out of it. And that's also the really hard way it's hard to decipher as well. I think people don't really have a great skill set in that either, because are we ever taught about communication? Are we ever taught about, these kind of things? And we're not just talking about people who go and do degrees or people who go and do a level 3 sports massage. No one really, I know, spends a lot of time on that kind of stuff. Interestingly, it was the only time I really experienced someone teaching me about how to speak. When I went to college in America years back, there was a specific subject. It was what was it? It was like public speaking. Public speaking was a class once a week. And it was really interesting because I remember sitting there like, like they don't do this in the UK.
No.
And I learned a lot because I happened to be learning from someone who'd been in media for 40 years at the time. So it was like, oh wow, that's a really powerful tool if you get it right. Because I remember I had to read a quote from something and people were like, oh, that was really nice. And I was like, why? I don't know. But maybe when you find a way of delivering something that you like to read, you like to deliver, you speak it truthfully and you speak it with passion, maybe that's where people just go, yeah, I'm in. So that's, I think, where the power of this comes in as well, for sure.
Yeah, I think kind of speaking passionately about what you do. And I mean, I openly admit to clients that I become a bit of a geek with it, and I kind of like, right, if I can't help you now, I'm going to go away and I'm going to find out how I can help you because I'm interested in it. And I'm, and I kind of give all these different explanations of, reasoning behind how we can help them because I'm just interested in it. And I think showing that passion that you have to help people, I gave up quite a well-paid career to come back to do this, and start a business up from scratch and go back. I'm not interested in making loads and loads of money out of it. I just want to help people. I want to go, I came back to this because I came back to a profession that I missed, think I should never have left. But I just want to help people, and I enjoy that side, and I try to portray that across to people as much as possible, you know. And I
Cool.
think that's it, rather than kind of just in, out, see you later. I'll see you same time next week.
It's good.
So trusting your gut with clients.
Yeah. Two approaches here. Number one, first impression, first contact. If you feel like they're not the right client, you have to decide what the right client means as well. So for me, it comes down to whether they've got the time or whether they've got the time, whether they have got the financial backing to commit to the process that I'm giving them, and also whether they're willing to learn. So being open to learning is the biggest thing, actually. And I'm if I reflect back on, it must have been 2 or 3 days after lockdown 3 was announced, officially. I'd scheduled a call with someone who walked into our gym and she wanted to join. She said she wanted to do personal training as well as classes. So I said, look, let's have a call anyway, because I'm just interested to hear what you're looking for and what that stuff. And in the call, I was going through my normal process, asking the questions. Why personal training? What is it about that? Like, why do you do both? What are you looking for? What's the goal? I think what she realized that maybe she couldn't even answer that clearly because she didn't have a goal, or she didn't have a real clear understanding that I want to achieve this. It was just, I do it because I need to. So that was me like, but why do you feel you need to? I'm that kind of person anyway, but that's how I ask those questions. And then it got to a point where she was like, look, it sounds like you don't really want to work with me. So that moment, I then, historically, I would have probably gone a bit like, well, okay, you're right, then let's leave it there. But what I decided to do was take a moment. There's a term called holding space. So if anyone's read into managing stressive environments, things like that, the term holding space just simply means if it's your turn to talk, you can purposely wait for a few more seconds because it actually helps calm down the environment. So I remember when she said that, I could tell she's kind of riling up a little bit. And I just sat there, took a seat back. I put my hands together because also there's a thing about body language. I put my hands together. I was like, look, if I'm really sorry if you feel like you're confused about this, because my intentions with this call is simply to just hear what you're looking for, so I can help you understand if this is the right thing for you. Because I'm not just going to sign up someone and we're just going to get, if it doesn't work and we didn't know about that, then we would be wasting each other's time. And straight away she was like, oh yeah, fair enough. And it was an interesting moment of going through that process. But even saying that, I just wanted to do that, I already had made my decision that I'm not going to work with her because she wasn't willing to answer those questions to the honesty of it. She wanted to use PT as a way of someone just smashing her in a one-to-one session. And I'm like, that's not my job. So I was just like, look, if anything changes, I'll get in touch. So I'd left it open still. So I haven't said no, I've left it open. But my gut was, she's not going to learn. I'm not going to spend my time with her. So I used the language that was, I'm really sorry if you got confused about this, but hey, right now things are a little bit up in the air. I'll let you know, or let me know if you want to, take another look at this. So that's number one of trust your gut. If you know who your right people are, you then know if they're the ones to work with, how to find them out when they approach you, maybe. The other side of trusting your gut, I think, comes back to confidence. Again, just reflecting on some people I've spoke to where they felt like they wanted to say to their clients, like, what you're doing is rubbish, or you're not taking care of yourself enough, or you're not doing the exercises that I've asked you and it's wasting my time. Those kind of thoughts that therapists have. It's whether therapists have the confidence to, if they feel that way, which is their gut instinct, like this, they're not doing it, like it isn't right, they're not going to progress, whatever that means. It's having the conviction to say, look, we need to have a serious talk about this because you came to me for help and I'm giving it to you. Nothing's changing because you're telling me you're not doing the work I'm giving you. It's not trying to make it confrontational. It's just trying to make it clear in a sense of what you're saying in the initial term. But then I would follow up with, I really, really want to keep helping you, but I can only give you what I know and I need you to go and do the other stuff. That's one example. The other example can be, look, you're not doing the stuff that we've asked. I want to know if it's because something's not feeling right, or if you feel a bit nervous about it. So I'm opening up for further conversation by just trying to be more empathetic about it, instead of, oh, you're not doing it, it's a waste of time, because that doesn't get anywhere either. But it's when you have a gut instinct that they're not doing all they can, it's being inquisitive again. It's being, look, I'm a bit concerned that this isn't happening, because it should be happening, but something's there that's stopping you from doing it. What is that? And then more often than not, the client will then just open up and go, oh, I've just been a bit lazy, or I don't like the environment training at home because I'm surrounded by my kids. They're the kind of things that have come up. And then I'm like, that's fair enough. Or maybe we just maybe you have a go at doing this in the morning once you've dropped them at the school, or in the evening when they've gone to bed. Why don't you try that? There's always a solution if you're willing to ask more questions. But I don't think clients don't do their exercises because they're lazy. And I don't think that as my first thought. I think of it as, they're not doing it for a reason. What is that reason? And if they actually can admit to themselves that it's because they've been lazy, you don't need to say anything. They kind of just then have answered their own question in a way that way. So trusting your gut for me comes down to knowing if you're going to work with the right person, figuring out what that looks like. And that's where my consultation comes in. And then during the process, having a reality check if needed, and having the confidence to give it, where you can then say, look, it's not progressing the way I'd planned, and I want us to figure out why that's happening. Because you're not suggesting anything. You're just saying, look, let's figure out together why that's happening. And then they might turn around and go, oh, I just haven't done it enough. So that's what I mean by trusting your gut, I guess.
It's interesting because, I suppose it's kind of, you have to kind of, in essence, pick and choose who you work with in that instance, which I think is probably quite scary for a lot of people. Because, if you've got a small business, you want as many people in. And that's where I suppose it comes back to what we originally spoke about, the people who turn up once and never come back again. Have you picked the right clients? Are you targeting the right clients? Is your messaging right? So it all kind of circles back to point number one that we discussed, I suppose, doesn't it?
For sure. And this is where communication is just full circle all the time.
Yep.
And I look at it as like, if I've got a period of 6 weeks with people, that communication cycle just keeps cycling. Why, when, how, what, reset, because day on day things change as well. And it's understanding that the unexpected is almost expected nowadays.
Yeah.
So that's where, again, I'm proving my own case, where I'm like, just don't plan anything necessarily. Just, if something happens, just then connect with someone and go, hope you're okay. And then suddenly they're like, oh, this is really blah. And they go for it. And then you have a quick chat with them and they're like, oh, I feel better now. Let's carry on, shall we? So it's that kind of side of things as well, right?
It is. Well, it's been a really interesting chat. I think it's been a good discussion. So a couple of things on screen there. So if people want to kind of contact you, so you've got your website, rebuild.coach, info@rebuild.coach as well. Couple of Facebook sites there. So we are Valentis, which is your gym.
It's the gym, yeah.
Yeah. And Rebuild Yourself Today, which is your Facebook page
for Rebuild. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Instagram is simply Rebuild Coach as well. And I'm on LinkedIn, Tom Colwill on LinkedIn if you're on.
Okay. Well, it's been absolutely fantastic chat today.
Cheers, Scott.
Thank you. So anybody watching, if you want to find out any more about the Sports Therapy Association or find any more content, we are on Facebook. We have different groups on Facebook. Just search for Sports Therapy Association or STA. We're also on Instagram, Twitter, our YouTube channel, where most of our videos go on to, and our website, which is the main source of information. Don't forget to check in every Tuesday at 8 p.m. With Matt Phillips and our Let's Talk About series. Anybody wants to contact me, I am also regional rep for the Northeast region, but happy to help anybody up and down the country. You can contact me at scott@thesta.co.uk. Once again, I'd like to thank Tom. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks again, Scott.
Thank you very much.